Alright, this is like a super... Oh, fuck that boost, bro. This is super impromptu video. Also, why am I looking at this? Okay, so they have updated the Guardian Druid tree. On Wowhead, there's obviously changes to Alpha. I wasn't originally going to react on this, but people started talking in my Discord, and for those who are in the Discord, thanks for getting me heated. So we're going to actually just talk about some of the changes that we've seen. If you haven't seen my last video, feel free to check it out, though it has changed, but it gives more of my thoughts on like the general, like, quote-unquote builds that look like are going to be accessible for Guardian Druid players. I think for the most part, you'll still be able to mostly get the feel of the builds down from that video. You have like a Thrash-centric build that focuses on damage mitigation, and then you have like an Arcane, like Moonbear, Galactic Guardian style build that focuses on like healing and dot damage, which both are very interesting. And then there's obviously some other flavor choices in here as well, but I want to talk about this. So this is actually a build that was just linked by one of you guys. I think actually Kex, you linked this one to me, which is just interesting. I'll talk about these though in a second. So let's actually reset the tree. We can do that, I think, just by like right clicking on these. Yeah. Can we just do this? Boom. Okay. So this is how your tree is going to start. You know what? Actually, I'll just go here. Boom, full screen. Wow, big. Okay, so let's do this. I'll get rid of my face. So what's really interesting about this is that we didn't really see many changes in the the general tree. You're pretty much going to be playing the same kind of build, which has you play a little bit defensively. You have your affinity choice. More than likely, you might want to go balance affinity here to get to the Moonkin slot. And then you'll obviously be taking Skull Bash, Thick Hide. You want to increase the range of your abilities by 5 yards. That's actually insane if it's actually going to be 5 yards. 3, then 5 at rank 2. And then you're going to kind of just build this out however you want, whatever you need. Whether you need like Typhoon for CC, or you know, you want something like Sunfire, which has no AoE. And like you can kind of build this out as you want. You might take Incap Roar. Well-Honed Instincts is really strong. Lakara's Teachings, Renewal maybe. Probably skip out on that. We still have 4 points to spend, so maybe like something like Mass Entanglement or Ursols, depending on what you need. You might go Innervate and Vigil. Okay, this is just like an example, right? This isn't necessarily the build you would run for this tree, but you have a few more options. But if I'm not mistaken, they didn't change anything outside of like Astral Influence. Was like some text was changed, but nothing too crazy. Let's just say if you needed a curse dispel though, you can actually just like drop this. You can go down to this tree, you can grab the curse. It's fine. It's all good. All right, so let's just assume that we're playing with this tree. Now, over on the right-hand side is where they made the major changes. So the big changes that we're going to see is nothing in the top half. So this top half of the tree, completely normal from the very first video that I made. The big changes actually is going to come in the kind of the middle section, as well as the 20 requirement section down here. So like the tier 3 talents is what we'll call it, I guess. So tier 2 and tier 3 have changed. So more than likely, you're going to build out kind of standard here. You'll probably end up grabbing Brambles because Bristling Fur kind of sucks. Innate Resolve, of course. The Ursine Adept. You can also grab your Survival Instincts rank 2 as well as Berserk. And this should unlock the tier 2 of your tree. Now, this is where things get kind of interesting because we're now seeing Layered Main actually getting shifted over from the right-hand side, which made it kind of out of the way and kind of hard to get to. They not only improved Layered Main by adding another element, which is the Frenzy Regen, has a 10% chance not to consume a charge, stacking up to 2 times. So we'll see that up at, I think, 20%. If it should change, I would imagine. It doesn't change when you click on the tooltip, but we'll assume 20%, I would imagine. Maybe, we'll see. Anyways, they added that. So Layered Main is easier to hit. But if you don't want Layered Main, you don't necessarily have to get it. You could technically just not run Layered Main. You still have access to Iron Fur, of course, because it's part of the base tree here. You could actually then build out into this kind of like Moonfire Galactic Guardian build, where you can get double Scintillating Moonlight. You can go Twin Moonfire for extra Moonfire applications, more damage. You can get the Galactic Guardian proc from it, which will, your damage has a 5% chance to proc an automatic Moonfire. And this comes for Moonfire ticks. So the more damage the more dots you deal or put out, the more times it's going to proc, which is just really fun. It also is going to increase your rage generation on this as well, which is just good all around. And then you can obviously go into Berserk Persistence to unlock this part of the tree. Now we do need to spend a few more points. So what I've seen some people do is they might go into like Layered Main, but I think honestly Positive Outlook is going to be a better play here, which still feels kind of clunky to have to go down the left side of the tree as well. So originally like this build here was over here on this side of the tree. So it was easy to kind of grab all of it while still unlocking this back half of the tree in the tier 3. So we have 15 out of 30 points. So we have to make some decisions here. I think double positive outlook's is gonna be really good, and Earth Warden is just like a really good talent. And again, this is for Mythic Plus specifically. Raiding Bears, more than likely we're gonna go into like some kind of auto attack maul mangle build, which will have us like taking things like Tooth and Claw, maybe Vicious Cycle, things like that. Honestly, it comes down to tuning, and they're probably going to shift this tree around again because some of these are kind of clunky once we get into tier 3, and we don't have this module cooldown bonus is going to try to affect the Convoke, the Spirits, and Incarn, but we're going to have to see what they put here. Right now, there's just a filler. So let's take Earth Warden and let's grab the other Unchecked Aggression, and now we're at 19, so we have to figure out one more thing to use, and this is where it gets awkward because increased duration of Barkskin and Iron Fur, kind of shit. Sorry, this is just not a great talent. 1 second on Iron Fur or Barkskin isn't going to make too much of an impact in your gameplay. And then like Infected Wounds, not needed in single target, not needed in raid fights. You very rarely mangle or maul in single target or like in AoE situations. And on top of that, the movement speed, like there's other classes that bring stronger movement speeds consistently. So more than likely you won't take Infected Wounds. So we're going to be looking at the tier 2 of the tree. We could go Vicious Cycle to have ramping damage on our maul. If we just put 1 point here, it's going to be 15% second to 3 times, right? Which will give us a reason to actually use Maul in some situations, mostly in single target. We could go Layered Main, just 1 stack of it. But if we want to get to Incarn, we're going to have to go down the middle of the tree, which again, feels really clunky. So let's just say 1 Layered Main, and then we're going to unlock the tier 3 now since we have spent 20 points. So Survival of the Instincts, I doubt that it's going to stack up to 2 times here. Or they're going to reduce the tooltip from 33% maybe down to 15, so 2 stacks will get you up to 30% reduction on Survival Instincts and Barkskin. That's what I would imagine, and that should unlock some pretty cool talents down here. But again, we're seeing a problem where we want to probably access Incarn more than likely, but it's also locked behind Circle of Life and Death, and it's locked behind Fury of Nature, which unless you're playing the Moonfire build, Fury of Nature doesn't do much for you. You're not applying a ton of Incarn or a ton of Moonfires, especially during like your Incarnation window. You're typically just going to be thrashing. So Fury of Nature, kind of sus being here and locking. Then you have to go through. So you have to spend 4 points between these two just to get to Incarn, and you probably won't be building out this. Like it's just this is like why I'm a little like heated about this tree. Is because this doesn't make sense. Like playing a Moonbear, this makes sense, right? Where you could like not run some of these. Actually, I don't know, like you probably would, right? So you'd probably go Layered Main twice, you'd probably go Reinforced Fur, then you would go double Fury of Nature, then double Circle of Life and Death, then Incarnation if you want it, then a Loon's Favored, obviously, I mean, you wouldn't not run a Loon's Favored, but then that puts us at 28 points. So do you see the problem here? Is that we have to spend so many points in like the tier 2 to kind of get these very powerful tier 2 traits, but it prevents us from getting like down to things like Ursoc's Fury or Rend and Tear / Untamed Savagery. It prevents us from getting Rage of the Sleeper. So you have to then start dropping some pretty impactful things like Unchecked Aggression. Not having that haste is kind of annoying. You can probably get away with it, which gives us 1 extra point, but even with 1 extra point, we're not going to be able to hit either of these, right? So we're locked behind 2 points here with Reinvigoration, and we're locked behind 2 points here with Survival of the Fittest. So at best, we're going to be able to make it to either Blood Frenzy after the Wildfire, because more than likely you won't run Soul, more than likely you won't run Guardian of a Loon. Pulverize is kind of shit. It really comes down to tuning, but 96% of attack power is not great. And then like Ursoc's Fury. Ursoc's Fury is going to be probably the choice you'll want to take, especially if you're running Positive Outlook. But then you're not getting access to Rage of the Sleeper, which is why bears struggle in keys right now, is because you don't have access to multiple defensives. You have Barkskin on a pretty short cooldown, Survival Instincts on a very long cooldown, as well as then like Incarn, but Incarn is typically more used offensively than defensively. So it's just like a very weird tree currently. This isn't going to be the build you're running. I'm just kind of trying to explain my thought process behind why I'm a little bit more frustrated with this tree compared to the previous iteration. I'm not sure which one's better. The last one had a lot of competing choices, and you had to take like a lot of odd choices to get to some of the more powerful traits like Layered Main. In this spot here, it's a lot easier to hit, but like then Scintillating Moonlight and Twin Moonfire is kind of in a weird spot because you can't work your way back up the tree, right? You have to take Mangle, you have to take Gore Fury, Actually, this should be improved mangle. Improved mangle, gory fur. Then you can get to this, which is just, again, awkward. So there's some pretty glaring issues with this tree. And then we don't even know what the module cooldown bonus is going to be. It was if you shift out of Incarn, it refunds a portion of its cooldown, and then you had it where like Convoke had the increased chance to use the exceptional spell, but it was still going to be a 2-minute CD, so it's just like really weird. This tree is really weird because you can't access like cooler things at the back half of the tree, and some people might argue like you're not supposed to, like this back half of the tree is supposed to have like these 3 primary like roots, and you should only be able to go down one of them. But I don't think that's the case. I think you should be able to make some pretty conscious decisions to get into some of these later, you know, tiers or later talents in these later tiers to kind of optimize your character, right? That just makes sense to me. So kind of weird. I'm not sure. My biggest frustration is the incarnation locked behind Fury of Nature and Circle of Life and Death. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. This is going to be a weird iteration. I wish I had alpha so I can actually test some of this stuff, because it's obviously going to be different playing it compared to speculating it on Wowhead. So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a short one. I have to go back to working on the 0 to Hero challenge. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Actually, I lied. I'm going to quickly go through exactly what I think the build will look like for Mythic Plus, but again, this is going to be fairly subjective. There's obviously, it's an alpha build still, so you can see probably a lot of changes that'll happen into this tree because we don't know everything, right? And I think some other things might get shifted around. But again, the top of the tree is going to be pretty standard. You're going to see yourself probably going into like things like Brambles here. You're going to grab Innate Resolve. You're going to grab Mangle. You're going to grab your Ursine Adept. And you're also going to grab your Berserk Ravage. This right here unlocks the back half of the tree. Now, there is a possibility we're not going to go Survival Instincts rank 2. I don't know if this will be the play, because Survival Instincts is one of the more powerful tank cooldowns, but it has a long CD, right? It's a 3-minute cooldown. And unless we try to access Survival of the Fittest, it's going to be kind of tough to argue against having 2 stacks. But if we can get to Survival of the Fittest, we're going to be looking good. So I think next, Positive Outlook is really, really strong. It's essentially how Ursox Fury works now, the legendary on live, except it's actually going to have a higher chance for your Thrashes to proc an additional Thrash, which is just good. Earth Warden is going to be the next play, as well as Unchecked Aggression. We're then going to be grabbing things like maybe Layered Mane ×2. We're going to grab Reinforced Fur because we want to have access to both the Incarn as well as this other Berserk Persistence, which gives us reduction on Frenzied Regen and reduces the cost of Iron Fur by 50%. So all around, really good. We're going to grab that. And now we have just a few options, right? We still have to spend 4 more points at the top of the tree, as you can see here. We need to figure out the best way to spend those 4 points. So me personally, I think double Fury of Nature is going to be very, very solid. I think the Survival Instincts rank 2 is going to be good. And then I think Tooth and Claw, actually. So what's nice about Tooth and Claw is this is actually this is something that's currently in-game at Shadowlands. You can have access to this. The problem is that it comes down to the tuning of Maul. But what is nice about this ability is that auto attacks will have a chance to empower your Maul, stacking up to 2 times. But what's also nice is that they've made it so Unchecked Aggression actually reduces the cost of Maul while you're in Incarn. So during Incarn, it actually might be pretty beneficial to have this as a single target amp. What's also really cool about this is it does reduce the target's damage that they do to you for 15% for 6 seconds. So it's kind of like a mini Pulverize without having to sacrifice your Thrash stacks, which is just convenient all around. So with this, now we have 10 points left to spend. We have to figure out what we want to do in the back half of the tree. Now, again, like I said, I have some issues with Circle of Life and Death locking Incarnation, because Circle of Life and Death is only going to be really cool with the Galactic Guardian build and playstyle. It'll have some synergy with things like Galactic Guardian talent, but we're not going to be taking this talent anyways. Though you probably could actually drop Tooth and Claw here to go Galactic Guardian to get Circle of Life and Death, now that I think about it. So maybe you'll drop Tooth and Claw for the empowered Moonfire. And then this will have a little bit of synergy here. We're going to take Incarn. I know some Druids are starting to speculate maybe Incarn won't be the play, but I think a very strong 30-second cooldown on a 3-minute CD is going to be really, really strong. It always is, it always has been, and I think it will be going into the future. All right, we have 7 more points. There's a few things that I want to have access to. I want to have access to Ursox Fury. Very strong thing. It's going to really synergize well with Positive Outlook and Earth Warden. So unfortunately, we do have to put 2 points into Reinvigoration. I guess that's okay, except Frenzy Regen, Healing, amplified by 20%. I just don't like really care about that as much as I do about damage components or damage reduction components. So now we're going to be taking our Ursoc's Fury. Sadly, we probably won't be able to get to Rend and Tear and Untamed Savagery if we want to go to Rage of the Sleeper. Depending on tuning and depending on key, if you need the additional cooldown, you'll play into Survival Instincts with the 4 points we have remaining. You'll go double Survival Instincts. More than likely, you'll go Blood Frenzy unless you don't feel like you need the Rage generation because of Galactic Guardian, so you'll go after the Wildfire into Rage. Now, if you don't need the additional CD and you want base damage reduction, you'll scrap Survival of the Fittest entirely. You actually won't, okay, no, you won't scrap it. So instead, before taking Survival Instincts, you'll actually probably go Rend and Tear or Untamed Savagery, depending on what you want. If you want more damage and damage reduction from your shields, you can actually go for the Untamed Savagery. If not, you have Rend and Tear as an option. So these are going to be solid either way. And then you have 3 more points to spend wherever you would like. So what I would probably do is go double Survival into Blood Frenzy. If you feel like you're good on Rage generation, you don't go Blood Frenzy and you go into After the Wildfire. This is my kind of speculation of how it's going to work for Mythic Plus. Again, Mythic Plus, I can't stress that enough. For Raid, you're going to see something probably very, very different. I do really hate that we're missing out on Rage of the Sleeper because I was really excited to be able to play with this on top of some of these other talents, but this is something that I think will be very strong in Mythic Plus, but there's a lot of things we have to keep in mind. How the dungeons are designed, the composition you're running with, the tuning on certain spells like Moonfire or like Maul. Maul could actually be a very strong ability, and building into Maul could actually be really good in single target. Are there a lot of mobs in the dungeon? Are there not a lot of mobs in the dungeon? Is it mostly magical? Is it mostly physical? Are you taking rot damage? Like, there's a lot of factors to a key and how the game's going to be designed that we can't speculate too much on right now because we don't know that information. But as it stands currently, this is the build that I'm going to probably say you would be running as the main Guardian Druid tree. This tree over here, the generalized tree, is probably up for grabs. I don't really know what's going on over here. This is just some talents that I clicked on, right? So, all right, anyways, that's all. I just wanted to make a quick video about it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out.